This is our second LinkedIn Live, and or if you're watching the replay. Thank you for being with us today. Let us know in the chat, where are you tuning in from? And today I'm with Elaine Bennett. Elaine is an award-winning speechwriter, and so I want you guys to have the opportunity to ask questions. So let us know that you can hear us. Let us know where you're calling from. And any questions that you have at any point in the live, we do want to be able to get to what questions you have about speechwriting, about entrepreneurship, about TEDx. So please do that as well. Awesome, cool. Elaine, thank you so much for being here today. And tell us a little bit, before we get to who you are, how do you take your coffee?
I don't drink hot coffee. Mm-hmm. I drink a mocha shake in the morning, a mocha protein shake made with cold pressed coffee that has steeped in the refrigerator overnight.
Nice.
And then I drink tea. When I need hot caffeine, I drink tea.
Nice. That sounds like supercharged protein plus coffee. That sounds
awesome.
So tell everybody who you are, what you do, and where you are on your journey right now.
So I'm Elaine Bennett. I have been a speechwriter for more than 25 years. I do know how to count above 25, but it depresses me, so I say more than 25 years. I started out on Wall Street, which was a strange place to be a woman in the late 80s, early 90s. But I started out at the top. My first speechwriting gig was writing speeches for the CEO of Salomon Brothers. And a couple of years into that gig, Salomon Brothers imploded. They had some people do some bad things. And the SEC was a couple minutes away from putting us out of business when our largest shareholder spoke up and said, I'll come in, I'll be the interim CEO, I'll make sure everything gets back to normal. And so that was our reprieve, because our largest shareholder was a guy named Warren Buffett. I don't know if you've heard of him. And so he became our interim CEO, and there I was, the speechwriter for the CEO. And so I wrote something before I even met him. I had to write a letter that was going to go out under his signature to a bunch of people. And I didn't know at that point who was going to be approving it, because everybody above my boss had basically been fired. And this was before email. If you can imagine a time before email when people actually still did business. It was harder, but it happened. And so I wrote my name and my office phone number at the top of the piece of paper, and I sent it out into the world not knowing who was going to see it. And the next day my office phone rang, and it was Warren. And he said, "Did you write this thing?" And I'm like, "Yes, please don't kill me." I didn't say that last part, I only thought it. And he said, "It sounds like I wrote it." And I said, "Well, sir, that's my job." And that was the beginning of a really amazing working relationship. And it gave me, I learned a ton in the just maybe about a year that he was working with us. And of course, it gave me some social proof that is worth more than any amount of money. That I sent him a note after he left, because I hadn't known it was his last day, and I wanted to let him know that, you know, I'd always wanted to work for him, but never wanted to move to Omaha. So he sent me back a lovely handwritten note, and among the things he said was, "You have a terrific ear, and you turned straight thinking into straight writing."
Nice.
And he told me that I could use that to market myself in perpetuity, and I have.
Sure. I mean, what a compliment, right? Yeah. And what a testament to your writing as a speechwriter and as somebody who writes on other people's behalves. That, you know, you really, I mean, you almost can't get any better than Warren Buffett, right?
I don't think so. I mean, maybe Barack Obama, but one of these days. The thing, you know, I mean, and the thing that made it even more special was that we began our working relationship in a time of crisis.
Sure.
And And I was so impressed with my colleagues who dealt with the press and how cool and collected they were. You would never have known that, basically things were falling apart all around them.
Right.
And I was able to channel that same energy to just, okay, we have to write a letter to the clients. We have to say, basically, oops, we won't do it again. And so that's what I did.
That's fantastic.
And since then, I've continued to write for leading CEOs. And I've also, in the last 5 or 6 years, started coaching people on how to write better for themselves. Because there are so many more businesses in the world right now, and not everybody's in the Fortune 500. That's kind of a giveaway that they call it the 500. There's a 501 and et cetera, but there's so many solopreneurs and so many small businesses, and they need to be able to communicate too. And so I want to be able to give them the tools to do that, and that's how I started doing coaching and webinars.
Awesome. That's so awesome. And so fast forward to today.
Yep.
You and I work together, right?
We do.
So I work with some pretty amazing people, and you're one of them. And one of the first things that you and I did together was you were on my TEDx stage, right? I was an organizer last year, and I received your application, right? I knew you. I knew who you were.
Right, but we hadn't really talked or anything. We just sort of knew each other existed.
Right, through of course Dory Clark, which I feel like all roads lead back to Dory Clark in some way or another. And you submitted to my TEDx, and I remember this because you were one of the first applications that I got. I announced it.
Don't sleep on it. If you have an opportunity, don't sleep on it.
Yeah, and the minute I watched your 1-minute video, I said, okay, I have to have her. And not only that, she has to go first. She has to open the day. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what happened. And over time, and of course, as an adjudicator, you want to be fair. Mm-hmm. And you want to give everybody a shot. And so I didn't marry myself to that, right? Because there theoretically might have come something that might have been a better fit or whatever the case was, but nothing did. Right? Not every, you remained in the top spot there. And part of that is because your idea was so unique and it was so well crafted to my theme that there was just no way anybody else was going to open the show. So, do you want to talk a little bit about what you did there and how you made such a strong application and then such a strong speech?
Sure. If I'm turning red, it's not sunburn. It's from the effort not to say, "Aw, shucks." Trying to learn how to take a compliment without feeling like I should deflect it, which is a skill I think every woman should have. And
well, I would apologize for singing your praises, but
no, everything you said was true. You speak the truth, my friend. No, so the first thing is I got your call for submissions while I was sort of on vacation. I was at a conference. I was in a hotel. It was not a very pretty hotel, so I didn't have a lovely background like this. Mm-hmm. And I thought, oh well, this is something I should do, but I'll wait for 2 weeks until I'm home. And then I closed my computer, and I opened my computer, and I turned on a Zoom, and I made my pitch, and I sent it in, and then a month or so later, you emailed me and said that the committee wanted to talk to me further about my idea, and I was like, wonderful! What was my idea? So I had to go back into iMovie to see what my idea was, and I thought, wow, that is a really good pitch. I have no idea what I was talking about. So, but what I did do all the way through was I focused on your what you said the theme for the day was going to be, which was changing the paradigm. Now, not all TEDx events will tell you what their theme is. Sometimes they just, figure it out by who they choose. And if there's a thread running through it, then that's the theme. And if not, it's just, a random collection of smart people, hopefully smart people speaking. But you had said changing the paradigm. And so I thought about that. I spoke to that in my first video, and then before I got on the call with you to talk about it further, I said, okay, I really need to know what I'm talking about. And so I thought about when was a time in my life when my paradigm really shifted, when how I looked at the world was never the same after as it was before. And because I did that work, and because I started it with, not by looking at, what world-changing events have shifted things, but what even small event changed me. Because I started with me, it was always going to be a unique story.
Right.
But it wasn't just about me. Right? I talked about a book that I'd read 30 years ago when I was a baby speechwriter. Oh, I guess that's over 25 years. And how in that book shifted the way I thought about women and our role in the world. And lots of people have read that book, but nobody, to my knowledge, has talked about it, certainly not on a TEDx stage. And so it was always going to be a unique idea, and it was always going to be completely wedded to your theme. And because of that, I knew that if you accepted my talk, you were going to have to put me on first.
Well, that's true, and I did. And also, I think one of the points that I keep coming back to whenever we talk about this is the fact that even if I wanted to give a speech on the same idea, which, by the way, is language. And so
lots of people talk about language.
Right. And even if I wanted to make the same exact points you were making, I cannot give the same speech because I don't have the story of reading this speech as a baby speechwriter, right?
Yep.
It's not something that I can say, and even if I wouldn't do this, but, even if I plagiarize your speech somehow,
right.
and it would be completely disingenuous, right?
Yep.
And that's the mark of a great speech. Nobody else in the world, I don't care who you are, can give that speech. You can even hand it to Warren Buffett. He can't give that speech.
Absolutely not. Yeah. And that's what you want to aim for. Now, it's really easy if you have a unique idea that nobody in the world has ever thought of before. I mean, I suppose if I were to invent a rocket ship faster than Elon Musk's, nobody else would be able to talk about, I invented this fast rocket ship that doesn't actually blow up. But most people don't have super unique world-changing ideas like that. So if you're talking, especially if you're going to talk about something that other people have talked about in the past and other people may talk about in the future, you've got to root it in something unique. And the only thing that you can be absolutely sure is unique is your own experience.
Right. Exactly. And when it comes to giving a TED Talk, why is it important to be unique about this?
Well, it seems like there are a million TED Talks, but there aren't actually a million TED Talks. There's, maybe a couple 100,000. And there are actually people who don't know what TED is, even still. Yes.
Yeah.
I called up my cousin and said, I've been accepted to give a TEDx talk. I'm so excited. And she talked to me for 10 minutes being excited with me. And then she said, Elaine, who's TED?
Yeah.
So,
I had a similar experience. I once went to a networking, it was a BNI event, so it was a networking event. And I was talking about what I did to these, really accomplished professionals. And I was like, yeah, TEDx, this, that. And they were like, what are you saying? And I was like, okay, I got to slow down. Not every, you know, we run in these entrepreneurship circles,
yes.
and so
yes.
everybody knows what that is. Everybody wants to give one. Everybody has given one, you know, and so you're right. Not everybody knows what that is.
Not everybody knows what it is. But you know when I knew it was absolutely time for me to give a TEDx talk, and this was about 4 or 5 months before you sent around your application. I knew it was time to give it the TEDx talk when I was talking to somebody at a networking event, and instead of saying, have you given a TEDx talk yet? She said, so what's your TEDx talk about? Well, no.
There you go.
Yeah. So if you're in a certain, I mean, it makes sense. I'm a speechwriter. Of course, I should have given a TEDx talk long ago. But if you're at a certain level of, you know, entrepreneurship or business, and you need a little extra social proof, there's no better thing than a TEDx talk, because it's not just about the people in the audience, if there were a live event, watching you. It's about the video. 90% of the TED experience is about the video.
Right.
And that video will be put up on the web, and if on the TEDx YouTube channel, if TED likes it, they will elevate it to the TED.com YouTube channel, which happened to 90% of the speeches at your Bay Ridge Women's TEDx.
Right.
Yeah, mine was up on TED.com before I even knew it was on the web, which was strange.
That was a good day.
It was. I bet it was a good day for you. But you know, so people will see you,
right,
whenever, for years.
Yeah.
And you know, we have a friend who did a TEDx talk in. It turned out to be a TEDx organized by a high school student, you know, who was buffing his resume for college. And so she's at this high school somewhere in, I don't know where, doing her TEDx, and the video didn't work, or the video worked, but the slides didn't work for her presentation. And so she did the presentation anyway, and they cut in the slides afterwards before they uploaded the video. And wouldn't you know, her video got picked up by Big TED, TED.com, and she's a coach, right? And
she's a management consultant.
Management consultant, and she has gotten a ton of work from this video that was, you know, only happened because some kid wanted a better resume for college.
Right. Right.
So
and the point of that being, you know, and I mean, same thing with us. You know, we did, you know, TEDx's, especially first year TEDx's, they have a small budget because you're limited in how much you can charge by TED and how many people you can have in the room and everything. So small budget thing in a hotel in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, and you know, Pearl's one of our speakers' videos has hundreds of thousands of views now. You know, 90% of our speakers are on Big TED. You know, and I mean, it's on the merit of the ideas of the people who spoke. It's not anything that I did, right? It's not anything. It wasn't
the pretty pink jacket I was wearing. I thought it was my pink jacket.
Sorry. Sorry to disappoint you. It wasn't the jacket. But you know, like it really is, it means something to have a really good idea and get up. And when you have a great idea, no matter where you are, you can really make some changes. And you know, and the good thing about TED is that they're pivoting, right? They're TED
pivoting
this year was virtual. And so, you know, and I had people come to me and be like, well, is this actually worth it? Yeah, absolutely. You get the TED logo next to your name, you know, and you can have a little bit more control over what the video looks like because you're going to be shooting it yourself, right? You won't edit it, but you'll shoot it. So. And
you don't have to travel. You don't have to spend the budget to travel. And, you know, you get to sleep in your the night before you give the talk, if that's important to you. So yeah, it's a great time to be getting into the TEDx talks, because I think some people will misunderstand and think, oh, no, I've got to wait until I've got a live audience because that's what's important about TEDx. That is not what's important about TEDx. What's important about TEDx is the long tail of the video that shows you and your idea forever.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, you know, before I was an entrepreneur, I was friends with Dory Clark. Mm-hmm. And I saw that she had a TEDx talk, and I was like, oh, she must be really famous. You know, and this was pre, like, you know, a lot of things for her. And she was really well known in the business circle. But, you know, I don't think that made her famous.
Right.
You know, so you don't have to be famous to give a TED Talk. You don't have to be, you know, Simon Sinek to give a TED Talk. And in fact, Simon Sinek was in part made by his TEDx. Same thing with Brene Brown.
Brene Brown?
With Mel Robbins.
Yeah, Brene Brown was a local academic when she spoke at the TEDx Houston. Mm-hmm. And I think I read in one of her books that she wasn't even quite sure what she was going to talk about. Don't do this. Do not do this. This is a bad example to follow. But she got up on the stage and she delivered, you know, she's probably delivered a version of this to lectures, you know, for years. So she had the material in her head. But nobody knew who she was. I mean, you know, hopefully her husband did. But she didn't have millions of people who knew who she was. She didn't have 5 bestsellers on the New York Times list like she does now. Right. She was just, you know, some academic from Houston.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we can all, I mean, there's, you know, you're only limited by the strength of your idea and the strength of your delivery of it. And if you have an idea worth sharing, which mm-hmm. is what TED asks for, then this is the time.
Yeah, agreed. And, you know, not all of us are going to become Brene Brown. Like,
darn it.
I gave 2 TED Talks. I am not Brene Brown.
You're still Maria Contreras. Damn.
You know, but the point being that doesn't mean you're not going to get value out of right. doing that. Right. Because it really and truly is. I mean, the brand recognition that you get. You know, I heard a statistic once that more people go to Harvard every year than give a TED Talk. Which is crazy because you think, you know, Harvard, that's some brand recognition. No, actually, TED is more exclusive. So.
That is excellent. You know, Marie, I want to talk a little bit about being an entrepreneur and how awesome it has been for me to hook up with you in a business sense.
Aw, shucks.
No, I mean, well, you made me blush earlier, so it's your turn. But you know, I've been working on my own for more than 25 years, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. and I've done okay by myself. But when I met you through the TEDx talk that you organized, and when we actually got to interact, and I saw how really smart you are at so many different things. I mean, you have your hands in so many pies you'd think you were an octopus, but.
Thank you.
But and I said to myself, I said, Marie organizes TEDx talks. She helps people get on the TEDx stage. I write speeches. Is there some synergy here? Yeah. There is some synergy. Yeah. And so I asked you and we started talking about it. But the thing I really love as a longtime solopreneur, mm-hmm. the thing I really love about having a business partner for at least part of my business is that we can hold each other up. We support each other. You know, I was pretty sick in the spring for about 3 weeks, and we kept our plans moving because you took over doing most of the lifting. And, you know, when you've had other, your TV producer hat on or other hats, yeah. I've been able to step up and do that. So we keep our business strong by sharing. And that's just such a blessing for me as somebody who's been doing it alone for so long.
Oh, thank you. Well, same. I have to say, I forgot that we did our happy hour launch in the middle of you being really sick.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. You know, and it's funny because, like, you know, I always have always taken for granted that we do things, like I do a lot of things. You know, I'm always the one who does the heavy lifting. You know, I have a team. I have a wonderful team. I couldn't work without them. But, like,
Right.
I've never had a business partner in that sense, right? You know, so I have to say it's been kind of wonderful. And, like, all the best things about women holding each other up and working together and doing all those, you know, all the things that we're supposed to do rather than, you know, competing. Because we could so easily be in competition with each other, right? Like, you could have set up a rival offering and, you know, completely just like shut me down because I didn't work with Warren Buffett. You know what I mean?
But I'm not a pitcher. I'm not, I mean, I'm a baseball fan, but I don't pitch, well, or easily. And you are so effortless and so successful at that I would be foolish to try and outdo you in that area. No,
thank you.
And the clients wouldn't get the best of both worlds either.
Right. Because I'm also not a speechwriter.
Right. You're really good at ideation and at knowing what will work on the TED stage, and it's really nice to do that part together because, you know, we each bring different perspectives to the ideas that our people have. But you know, so you do the ideation, you do the pitching. I do this stuff in the middle, and really it gives people the best of both of us. And it gives, you know, the support that we can give each other is really, really nice.
Agreed. It's good stuff. I love the stuff that we've done together, you know, between then and now. Like, right, we've launched like 2 different courses. We've had all this, and like I have never been a course girl. Right? Like, you know, so it's been kind of nice to do that. So go team. Yeah.
Go team.
Ben Contrara for life.
And you are the last person I hugged before hugging was impossible.
Oh, same.
Back in March. So
March 12th.
We had 4 years
breakfast.
ago. Oh my God.
Yeah.
4 months ago. It seems like 4 years.
Yeah, because we had that breakfast.
We had a breakfast with a very smart, successful entrepreneur who gave us some valuable tips. Yeah. And when we left the hotel, we hugged and then realized that we probably shouldn't have. And
oh Lord, yeah. And neither of us, thank goodness, got COVID, and we're good. And
yes, we're good.
But it's funny because that was the same day that Broadway shut down.
Yeah.
And I was I had a meeting in Times Square when the news broke, and I just like kind of saw everything shut down. I was like, oh no, it's so sad. But, you know, here we are 4 months later, and we're still working.
Broadway's still shut down.
Broadway's still shut down. Oh, my poor friends.
Yeah. Like, I had tickets to 3 shows in 3 days for the following week.
Wow.
And one of them closed forever. 2 of them closed forever. One of them might still reopen, but who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, it's rough. It's unprecedented times, you know. And it's funny because at that time, neither of us knew what was going to happen with this part of our business.
Right.
Like, do we move forward? Do we not? You know, and we got to the point where we realized we could. And,
yes.
You know, I don't know that I would have moved forward with this part of my business without you, so thank you.
Likewise. You know, let me say something about not the theater in general, but just being a well-rounded person, especially as an entrepreneur, especially as someone who wants to speak in public. It's really important to be well-rounded and not just to have your head buried in Harvard Business Review. As awesome as Harvard Business Review is, you need to, you know, see movies, go to the museum when you can, you know, immerse yourself in, read other kinds of publications than the ones that you usually read. Read a novel. That one's for me because I don't read enough novels. But you know, because it will make you, A, more interesting, and B, it'll give you more points of reference when you go out and speak. You can, I'm a baseball fan, as I may have mentioned. I love to include baseball references in the things that I write, and other people have other interests, but you can't be all business all the time, because most people will shut down. You won't reach as broad a population as you would if you can work in some, pop culture references or culture references.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. And no matter how niche your idea is, or no matter how niche your business is, it is important, and in part of the work that I do in my consulting business is social media, right? And so I work with a lot of business people. I work with a lot of leadership people. And when you're talking about something, especially if you have this really niche startup idea or management idea or leadership idea, right? You can't be about that all the time. Otherwise, people just go blind to it. They're like,
right,
enough is enough. I don't understand this, right?
Right.
You do have
Show
to
me a puppy.
Exactly. You do have to meet people where they are. And that's why things like quotes do really well, or like these like casual Friday type things, so it's the same thing in your TEDx idea, right? You took this really almost scholarly concept.
Oh, it's definitely from an academic book,
right.
100% written by two academics, and
right.
because they used an abbreviation or a word that's common in academic writing, which is the word I picked up on. Nobody else could have written that book.
Right, exactly. And you could have given a speech that was like, this is why we use the word, and here's how it, here's why it's important, and here's how you have to talk to people, and this, that, and the other thing. But you didn't. You made it interesting. You told
a story.
So, and that's really, really important. It's necessary.
Yes. So. Sometimes, and I'm probably more of a type A person than any other type, but sometimes my clients are super type A people, and they think that the stuff at the beginning, where I'm telling a story that relates to the issue that they're talking about, sometimes they think that's fluff. And, it's not. It's giving your audience a way in.
Yeah.
It's, you can't be up there giving a keynote, for instance, at a dinner or a lunch with a blackboard behind you or a whiteboard writing stuff, It's not an academic lecture. People don't have to sit there and listen to you. Right. You want them to want to sit there and listen to you.
Right.
And so you have to reach out to them in some way. It's like Marie and I, on this call today, we didn't just launch into talking about business, right? We talked a little bit about our connection and who we are. Well, you know who Marie is because you've been watching her LinkedIn lives. But you've got to give people a way in, because otherwise it's like a sheer mountain face and they don't have a toehold to climb.
Right. And you always say this thing that I think is brilliant. Don't give people a reason not to listen to you.
Right. Right. So, and that's especially important in keynotes and other speeches like that. At TED, they make you start right with the speech from the very beginning. There's no hi, it's nice to be here. But when you sit at I'm sure everybody listening has been in a luncheon or a dinner, and the speaker gets up, gets introduced, and everybody claps, and they get up to the microphone and they say, "Gee, thanks, Ted," and "Sarah, it's really nice of you to invite me here." And so they start thanking a bunch of people you don't know, you don't care about. So you dig into your salad or whatever's going. You pull out your phone and start surfing your Facebook, and then all of a sudden the speaker's into the meat of the speech, and they have to sort of re-earn your attention. Right. So you never want to do that. Don't. And people are like, "Well, I got to thank people. I have to thank people. What's that about?" So thank them in the course of your speech. Find a way to do it organically,
right?
Not
right.
just a list of people at the beginning.
Yeah, because once people stop listening, it's extraordinarily hard to get them back.
Yeah.
You know, and if you don't believe me, talk to a high school teacher, right? You know, whatever. like it's really hard. You know,
Yeah.
once you lose people, it's really hard to get it back. You know, I taught middle school for a couple of years, part time, and my goodness, I learned firsthand, you do not want to lose them, because that's it. You know,
That's it.
So same thing with your audience. You know, whether they're listening in person or they're listening on the video afterward. You know, you want to find a way to keep their attention.
Well, and especially if they're listening on video, because they don't have the sort of public pressure to sit and watch.
Right.
Right? They're holding on their deck, or they're doing whatever, and so many other things are available to them.
Yeah, exactly. And I can't tell you the amount of times, like, I've turned on a TED Talk or an episode of a show on Hulu, right?
Yep.
And then I mean to watch it while I'm working, and then I miss the whole thing because I just get lost, right? So you want to do your best to hold people's attention. You know, you want to be the kind of speaker where, like, I can't work during that. I have to watch.
Right.
I have to stop what I'm doing.
Right. Can't miss a second.
So I want to remind everybody that if you have any questions, please, we're here. We see the chat, so throw them in the chat if you have any questions. I love Pamela said, us girls got to stick together, and I love that.
That's right.
Yeah, and so we have a webinar today.
Oh, yeah.
So we are going to be talking a little bit more about our new well, not new offering. We're doing our TEDx happy hour again. So I'll put the link to the webinar in the chat. If you all want to join us, great. There's probably going to be more shenanigans, just like you've seen. But we'll talk.
Yeah, we are really boring people to listen to. It's hard for me to stay awake.
So here you go. Here's the link, and we'll be around at 4 o'clock. So if you have any questions about TED, or we want you to get some more value about this out of this. So join us for our free training. We'll be talking about what it means to give a great speech.
One of my favorite subjects.
Yeah, mine too. So how can people get in touch with you?
My website is Bennett, BENNETT, INK, like ink from a pen.com. And I am on the Twitter machine at Biz Speechwriter.
Biz Speechwriter. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. And
Absolutely.
I will be seeing you in a couple hours at our webinar.
I will miss you terribly.
Thanks for being here.
Okay, bye.